So Bassem Youssef did an excellent interview with the Neck Boys, and big surprise, I never heard of the Neck Boys before, but these douchebags did an interview with Bibi Netanyahu, and it was a fluff interview, and they got a lot of hate as they deserved. So to try and do some damage control, they did an interview with Bassem Youssef, which is the smartest thing that these idiots ever did, even though I don't even know who they are. But doing an interview with Bassem Youssef after the fact um, is definitely a step in the right direction. So there's a lot to unpack and say about this interview, but that's going to have to be saved for another time because I want to address one thing that's very, very specific. And I'm not even going to say a whole lot, but let's just watch this little segment and then I'm going to segue into something that will be hopefully illuminating.
This is our country, our place. You understand that Israel started by refugees from Europe, people who escaped the Nazis. This was a European problem. Most of those people were in Ukraine and Russia and Poland and Germany. And then they went through incredible hardship. Why would they come to the Middle East and take a land that belonged to other people? That is the core of the problem. The core of the problem is not just starvation or the daily killing. It is people coming in and trying to take a land from other people. And of course, you grew up as a Jewish person telling you this was an empty land and we just came in. There was no one there. There were already 2 million Arabs living there before Israel have even been conceived. And in one night, 700,000 people were displaced overnight on 15th of May 1948 when they declared the state of Israel. You understand the amount you like your grandparents are like Holocaust survivors. They wouldn't like another Holocaust to be happening in their name, and they wouldn't. If you have a problem with Germany, go fucking take a piece of land from Germany, man. You understand like where my people are coming from? Like we were just sitting here and you have like a problem in Europe and then you were pushed on us and say like this is our land now, get the fuck out.
So that's a very interesting question, and it's a question that I have also pondered in the past. It is often said by Jews that the justification for creating Israel was the Holocaust. This is not true. The origin of Zionism began well before the Holocaust ever happened. It began with uh, Theodor Herzl, who was the founder of modern day Zionism, who lived in the late 1800s. Obviously, that was well the before World War II, the Holocaust, which happened in the 1940s. Late 1800s is when Zionism, the desire to separate and create a quote unquote Jewish homeland, which, by the way, is part of the scramble for Africa. All Zionism ever really was an Ashkenazi separatist movement. So Bassem Youssef brought up the very important question that more people should be asking. Why didn't Jews just take a piece of Germany? And part of the answer is because this was something that they wanted for decades before World War II ever happened. Now, I'm going to show you something, and it's going to be illuminating, and I'm not even going to say much. There's only going to be one thing I'm going to very quickly fact check, and I recommend and encourage all of you to fact check the rest. But I'm not going to do every little thing because that would just take forever. So let's just watch it.
Friday, May the 7th, 1920. It's page 11 that I want. There we go. Page 11. Page 11. The article is called "The Jewish War Aid
Okay,
Gets
so
One."
real quick, I'm going to look this up. I'm just going to move this over to the side here, and I'm going to show you that this is a real article. So I Googled it, and I can't show you the whole thing, but you can see. All I did was I just Googled New York Times, page 11, May 7th, and then the year, whatever it was. And you can see this is a real article. Jewish war aid gets 100,000 gift. So just to verify that this is a real New York Times article. And you can Google all of this stuff and verify for yourself, especially the New York Times stuff. Maybe some of the other things would be hard to find, but definitely the New York Times stuff will all be there. It's all archived. So let's get back to the video and let's continue watching this. Let me just center it right here and let's continue watching it.
$100,000 gift. There it is. The Fund for Jewish War Sufferers in Central and Eastern Europe, where 6 millions face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death, was enriched yesterday by a contribution of $100,000 from Nathan Strauss. Where 6 millions face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death. 6 millions face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death. I'll just go down the rest of the article if anybody wants to read it. There's an article called Jewish War Aid Gets $100,000 Gift in the New York Times, Friday, May the 7th, 1920. Here's the New York Times again. This is 1921. There you go. New York Times, Wednesday, July the 20th, 1921. It's page 2 that I want. There we go. Page 2. Page 2. New York Times, July 20th, 1921. And the article is called Begs America, Save 6 Million in Russia. Massacre threatens all Jews as Soviet power wanes, declares Kreinin, coming here for aid. Look at that. Russia's 6 million Jews are facing extermination by massacre. As the famine is spreading, the counter-revolutionary movement is gaining, and the Soviets' control is waning. Now, this is one of the biggest articles of the lot. This is 1921, 12 years before Adolf Hitler ever set foot in the government. Look at that. Russia's 6 million Jews are facing extermination by massacre. That's an article entitled Begs America, Save 6 Million in Russia on page 2 in the New York Times, Wednesday, July 20th, 1921. This is the Gazette of Montreal. This is 1931. The Gazette, Montreal, Tuesday, December the 29th, 1931. This is over a year before Hitler come to power. The Gazette, it's page 6 that I want. There we go. Page 6. Page 6. The Gazette, Montreal, December the 29th, 1931. And the article pretty much speaks up for itself. 6 million Jews face starvation. 6 million. Bad conditions in southeastern Europe reported by Rabbi Wise. Fears crisis at hand. 6 million Jews in Eastern Europe face starvation, and even worse, during the coming winter. 6 million Jews. I'll give you a look at the rest of the article. The article is called 6 Million Jews Face Starvation, the Gazette of Montreal, December the 29th, 1931, 1.5 years before Adolf Hitler ever set foot in the government. This is the next newspaper. This is the New York Times again. There we go. New York Times. But this is dated 1936. Sunday, May the 31st, 1936. This does not say the 6 million Jews, but it does say Holocaust. New York Times. It's page 14 that I want. There we go. Page 14. The New York Times, May the 31st, 1936. And the article is called Americans Appeal for Jewish Refuge. It's quite a big article. But it's along here. Yeah. The petition, in expressing the opinion of enlightened Christian leadership in the United States favouring a larger Jewish immigration into Palestine, stressed the intolerable sufferings of the millions of Jews in the European Holocaust. The European Holocaust in 1936, before the Second World War even started. And you go up here. There it is again. Great Britain has it within her power to throw open the gates of Palestine and let in the victimised and persecuted Jews escaping from the European Holocaust. The European Holocaust in 1936, 3.5 years before the Second World War ever even started. That's in an article entitled Americans Appeal for Jewish Refuge, the New York Times, May the 31st, 1936. Here's the next newspaper. This is the New York Times again. The New York Times. This is dated February the 23rd, 1938. This is before the Second World War started. About a year and a half. The New York Times. It's page 23 that I want. There you go. Page 23. The New York Times, February 23rd, 1938. And the article is called Jewish Teachers Chided by Isaacs. I'll go along the bottom. And it is a Jewish tragedy pictured. A depressing picture of 6 million Jews in Central Europe deprived of protection or economical opportunities, slowly dying of starvation, all hope gone, was presented to the teachers by Jacob Tarshish. The Jewish tragedy started when Hitler came into power in 1933. There it is again, people. 6 million Jews in Central Europe, slowly dying of starvation. 6 million. This is in 1938. Jewish teachers chided by Isaacs. New York Times, February 23rd, 1938. A year and a half before the Second World War even started.
When I first saw this video, I felt sick to my stomach. You know that dawning realization that you realize that you've been lied to your whole life? That's what I felt when I first saw this video. And I felt dumbfounded and brainwashed. I felt like I was brainwashed. But it's not about me. Um, it's about you. Make of this what you will, because the truth matters. And that's all I'm going to say about that. See ya.